Now available for the first time on Google Play, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are falling apart in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy on Google Play today. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today. Cleveland Browns defensive player Malik McDowell was arrested last week after he allegedly took off all of his clothes outside of a children's learning center, exposing himself, and then was confronted by police who saw his indecent exposure. Now, after these officers saw the naked McDowell outside of the Children's Learning Center, he confronted the police and assaulted a deputy. Now, some are seeing this as an isolated incident of another NFL player out of control, but when I take a critical examination of the behavior of Malik McDowell, I see a man in crisis, similar to what I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that Malik McDowell is a man in crisis, and his crisis may not be because he's a beta male who possibly came from a single mother household. No, his crisis could be a result of a possible CTE-related injury. Now, CTE-related injuries have been affecting a lot of NFL and former NFL players like the late Chris Adams. And in a previous video, I talked about how your Chris Adams possibly could have been a victim of this CTE condition, which is the result of multiple concussions, and these concussions can possibly lead to an individual acting extremely erratically. Now, when it comes down to Malik McDowell's situation, he might have been acting erratically due to a CTE injury that damaged his brain, because before he even played in the NFL, he had suffered a head injury in a ATV accident, and ever since that ATV accident, your Malik McDowell has been acting extremely erratically all throughout his NFL career. Now, your Malik McDowell has had several incidents in the past as related to erratic behavior, and at one point he could not even travel with the Seattle Seahawks due to his extremely erratic behavior. And all of that erratic behavior could have possibly been the result of a misdiagnosed CTE-related injury, and most people, they're sitting there thinking, oh, this player is a completely out of control individual, but that being out of control could be beyond his control. Now, according to one report, Malik McDowell states that he doesn't even remember going to that Florida Children's Learning Center, taking off all of his clothes, and exposing himself. So when I listen to Malik McDowell's statements as related to his behavior, they really, again, start fitting into that pattern of erratic behavior I have read about as related to the late Chris Adams, who went out here on a mass shooting spree where he wound up killing a neighbor and his family, all because he was acting erratically, and people had said, even his own family said, that he had CTE-related issues, and it was found in an autopsy that his brain did suffer from CTE, and this was the reason, in addition to him having a lot of issues as related to having a failed career in the NFL, that led to him going out here and participating in that violent behavior. So I look at this pattern that's really emerging, and I'm seeing a man crisis coming to the NFL as related to the way players are treated in the NFL system, because a lot of the mainstream media, they want to try to demonize Malik McDowell And I don't believe that it was right to go out here and demonize Malik McDowell the way the mainstream media went out here and did this. Now, Kid Organic, he discussed this part of the whole narrative, and he talked about how the media was trying to make your Malik McDowell into a black brute with the way they were reporting the story. Basically, they wanted to take the incident outside of that children's learning center, and they wanted to twist that narrative to make it look like Malik McDowell was participating in some sort of sexually perverted behavior. And that's what they were trying to do in one report that Kid Organic talked about, where they said he had his genitals exposed, and they tried to make it sexualize it, trying to make it look like your Malik McDowell was possibly some sort of pedophile. But that really was not the case when you really start to look at all of the details of the report, because when I take a critical examination of all of the details of the report and hear McDowell himself saying that he does not even remember what he did, I'm definitely seeing a man whose crisis is being exacerbated by a mainstream media that seeks to paint a narrative around him where they try to demonize him as some sort of black brute and want to make him the brute of the month that is participating in sexual predation, but he's not participating in any sort of acts like this at all. No, what your Malik McDowell is a man in crisis. He's a man who is dealing with serious mental health issues, and instead of the people out here trying to get this young man the help that he needs to deal with the issues as related to whatever is going on as related to his brain, they want to exacerbate his problems by making him into a monster instead of trying to help this man in crisis come out of the crisis that he's in. Because again, when I look at the pattern as related to his behavior, it fits the same pattern as your Chris Adams and even possibly Junior Seau, who committed suicide. Many of these NFL players, they are suffering in silence, and instead of people reacting to the erratic behavior they're participating in, they need to start responding and realizing that a lot of these players have suffered a lot of brain injuries, and those brain injuries could be the thing that is leading to them participating in behavior that they would not normally participate in. Now, another aspect of this story could be the fact that your Malik McDowell could have taken some bad drugs, and that could also be the case too, because he might have taken a Molly or some PCP, and that could also be a reason why he acted so erratically. But I don't really believe that there was any drugs as related to Malik McDowell. I do believe that he had a serious brain injury, and what's really hurts the most is that the media is not trying to help Malik McDowell, a man in crisis, try to come out of crisis. No, they want to make things worse for this man in crisis by not saying how this CTE could have triggered this disturbing event. And instead of them going out here and looking to go out here and try to help this young man, they try to demonize him as a face of sexual predation because they see a black man naked outside of a school, and they immediately want to make him into a black brute and push a black brute narrative to make him the bad guy of the story, when the true bad guy is the NFL and the fact that they really don't go out of their way to look out for their players and ensure that their physical health is in good condition when they're outside of the league, and making sure that they get things like EEGs or EKGs so that we can get a clear picture of their brains to see if they're having any sort
of brain damage that could be affecting or impairing their ability to be able to function once they get off the field. I would think that if the NFL truly cared about its players, they would not leave them to become men in crisis like your Junior Seau's or your Chris Adams or what's happening with Malik McDowell. No, they would make going out here to get EKGs and EEGs or MRIs part of a basic healthcare package for their players so that they could see what's going on in their brain and possibly work towards dealing with the brain imbalances that could affect their mental health and their behavior off the field. I would think you would want to go out here and try to focus on helping these men, but no, they don't want to help these men. They would rather leave them to become men in crisis, and then they want to go out here and make them out to be the bad guy of the story, when the thing that's bad is the fact that nobody truly cares about these NFL players to get them the help that they need when they're playing for a team. And I would even say go back to the college system, because if you really care about these men, you would try to make sure that their health care is cared for so that they don't become men in crisis and they don't have episodes where they participate in disturbing behavior. This is all about trying to get these men the help that they need, and a lot of people, they don't really want to help a man in crisis until it's too late. And that's what's really sad, is that people are waiting for Malik McDowell to escalate his behavior to more horrific acts of violence. Then they want to go out here and say they want to do something passively, but aggressively they want to wait for a tragedy to happen when you have a chance to help this man, and the chance to help him is right now, because this is a man in crisis who could have his crisis averted if people went out here and got him the help he needed right now. Now, if you want to learn more about why men participate in these kinds of behaviors and what leads to men winding up in situations where they just lose control, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And this book has transformed many men's lives and helped many men move their lives forward and help them come out of a crisis and wind up being able to function in a world where everything is so gynocentric. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.